This week at Macy's, get 20 to 65% off great Valentine's Day gifts they're sure to love. Give them something amazing from the Effie Diamond and Gemstone collections, now 60 to 65% off. All sterling silver jewelry, 65% off. And more dazzling fine jewelry, 45 to 55%, plus an extra 20% off. Plus, Macy's Star Rewards members earn on every purchase except gift cards, services, and fees. Savings off sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
Hey, welcome back. You're on with two mics, Dr. Michael Schur and Colonel Mike. And today is the day before the inauguration in Washington under the Caracas, Venezuela atmosphere. Today we have Jack Kerwick on with us, also known as John Kerwick of America Greatness. Jack, this is your first time on two mics. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, it's great. We finally get to speak to you. We read your stuff from time to time.
I do.
Like everybody else's. Dr. Mike, are you with us?
I'm here, sir.
Oh, say hello.
Hello, Jack. Welcome.
Mike, nice meeting you. Thank you.
All right. So Dr. Schur also writes a blog, nonintervention2.com, non-intervention2.com. So you guys will have a little great conversation going on. Jack, your last article had to do with the great GOP. The once upon a time great GOP. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about this?
Now, let me just double check. Which article was that? Was that
it was on Greatness?
Yeah, but I posted something. I think I had gotten that article posted at two other places as well. I just want to make sure it's the article on maybe Time for Never GOP.
Yeah, Never GOP. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, well, what I was arguing in there is that I think it's time, for ever since Trump was elected, you always had Republicans, these people who have been members of the Republican Party and what I call the big con, meaning the big conservative movement, who have, who were against Trump from the outset. And, they went by the name Never Trump. And, this isn't a defense of Trump so much as it's just really on principle that, what they revealed to us is that for years they have been, manipulating millions of, kind of GOP voters into thinking that they were advancing some kind of, patriotic, traditional, conservative kind of agenda. And I think they revealed themselves in spades, particularly in 2020, just with all that's happened, beginning with what I call the interment of America back in March over the COVID scare, followed by the, utter obsequiousness and weakness that they displayed throughout the summer months with the normalization of Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots throughout, I don't know how many cities around the country, and followed by, the systemic, ubiquitous theft that occurred, the fraud that occurred in the election. Mm-hmm. So that being the case, I said, hey, maybe it's time for a never GOP. And I would go one step further, and I'm actually starting to live this. A never big con. I mean, maybe it's time to disengage completely from the, big conservative, or maybe we can call it the deep con. The deep conservative movement. Let's walk away. And the other night I had a conversation with a bunch of really good guys who I meet up with occasionally. One guy's his work's pretty well known, but I won't reveal who he is right now. But he said, so we were kind of, these guys get together on Friday nights. They smoke cigars, have a few drinks. Good bunch of guys. And we were hanging out, and I had pitched this idea about just, fuck them, the GOP. And one of them said, yeah, but, we're really close to, taking back the House in 2022. We can't just do nothing. I said, well, what? I said, but you're begging the question. You're assuming that Republicans winning offices, winning elections is somehow going to be advantageous for quote unquote us. And remember the question that Ronald Reagan posed to Jimmy Carter over 40 years ago when he said, okay, he was actually posing it to Americans while he was debating Carter. Ask yourself, are you better now than you were 4 years ago? Right. I believe that was when he had an exchange with Carter. And, that was supposed to be that was supposed to seal the deal. If you're not better off now than you were 4 years ago, then maybe you should try something new. Well, gang, I would challenge us to ask ourselves that same question. Are we really better off now than we were 4 years ago? And frankly, I think it's all but self-evident that we're not. Mm-hmm. And what is this was, in Trump, I had supported, I had written in his defense. I had voted for him twice. But, frankly, 2020 was a disastrous year for this guy. And we are not better off right now than we were 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And this was under a Republican president, a Republican-controlled Senate, a country within which most of the state governors and legislators are GOP, and a Supreme Court, the majority of whose nominees were made by Republican. How are we actually better off now than we were 4 years ago? I don't see it. So at this point, I think maybe it's time to allow the GOP to implode, to walk away from them, and we can take it from there.
Dr. Mike?
Yeah, I agree with the idea that the GOP should be abandoned. Mm. Most of what I write deals with foreign policy, but it's been very clear to me for the last 30 years that in foreign policy there was only one party.
Yes.
And after the year 2020, 2019, I'm pretty sure there's only one party domestically. Mm. The one point I would make is that there was no rising tide for the Republicans in the 2020 election. There was a rising tide for Trump. Right. And the idea that Kevin McCarthy or some of these other clowns would say, that same group of however many million people will show up again to vote for the Trumpless Republicans in 2022 is a rank insanity. It's those people weren't voting for the likes of what we've seen of recent days. Right. Those are just more gangsters, pedophiles, call them what you will. They're all they're all cut from the same cloth, I think, sir. And it's an amazing thing. And I would make one other point. I think until recently, the recovery of jobs in the economy generally, and the rising markets and things like that was astounding to me. Mm. And I think Trump also carried that on his back. So I entirely agree that the Republican Party should left in the same kind of fetid area that the Democrats occupy. But I think we're in trouble trying to find a new party. Not that we shouldn't, but without somebody like Trump, and is there anybody like Trump? How do we get a new party off the ground? There are people.
Mike, let me cut in for a second here.
Yeah, sure.
You just heard it on Two Mics. He said Trumpless. So we're going to coin that. It's on the Two Mic show. It's a Trumpless party.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if it's going to remain a Trumpless party. Meaning, what I mean by that is not that I think anything's going to change as far as the inauguration is concerned. I know that theory's out there. I'm not really buying that. But what I mean is Trump going to disappear from American politics? Is he going to continue to campaign or to promote those GOP politicians for whom maybe he has some affection or sympathy. I had heard that he's already vowed to campaign against those who turned against him in 2022. Again, I don't know how accurate any of that is. I mean, I do agree with both of you and with Dr. Scheuer that the Republican Party enjoyed the fortunes that it has over the last few years, including on election night, because of Trump. So the idea, especially now, the idea that people got to remember, 75 to 80 million people went out and voted for Trump. I mean, that's an historically unprecedented, massive number. More people came out to vote for this president's reelection than had ever come out to vote for any president's reelection before. And yet somehow we're expected to believe that, he lost to Joe Biden. But that point aside, no, I agree wholeheartedly that whatever gains the GOP made, they made because of Donald Trump. And I just cannot envision, I really can't see people going back out there to vote Republican, especially now after seeing how Trump has been.
Well, Jack.
Yes,
Jack. Just a little bit before we got on the podcast.
Right.
Mitch McConnell made a statement, really against Trump, claiming that what took place last week was his problem, and it's because of President Trump. And
right.
He's saying we convening on the Senate floor. I mean, it's a total disgrace.
It is.
And Lindsey Graham calls him Bitch McConnell. It's his bitch. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and Lindsey and him have a long relationship. I think longer than Mitch and his wife. And his wife is so tied into mainland China, so he had to give Trump some kind of a whack in the rear end. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. But something, everybody said, well, Donald Trump put up some great possibilities for the Supreme Court. And the reason, and I found out later by watching a documentary that Mitch McConnell went along with it, is because he still has the sting of Clarence Thomas with the Supreme Court. This was not best friends. Mitch McConnell went along with Trump's picks because of he really wanted to be the guy who made the court for the next generation. I think, Mike, you'll agree with that.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think McConnell is, but I wonder now, what kind of judges are we going to get? We've seen in the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
That's right.
We've seen that on a black and white question, the U.S. judiciary at all levels is either stupid, cowardly, or corrupt.
Right.
The blatancy and substance of the evidence that showed the election was thrown was indisputable, and none of them would hear the case. Or, I don't know exactly how to fix it, but you can't count on the courts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, I'm at again. I guess I'm just kind of going through a change right now. Kind of a change of life in response to all that I've witnessed just over the last year or so. And I think in my own mind, what's happening at this moment is that I am mentally seceding from the United States at this point. I'm actually seceding from American politics, meaning I just focus on, I'm very much into combat training. I'm into martial arts, my weight training. And of course I'm into I have my own work, my writing, my family, looking to make myself as strong as possible to take care of me and mine, because at this juncture, again, not trying to sound dramatic here, just that this is where I think I need to be. I really don't know what else to do. I do not. We cannot count